Hello YouTube, it's Lion here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we are doing another manga review. Now today we are going to be reviewing One Piece. Now I've already reviewed One Piece once before, actually I think twice. I've done two different reviews for two different omnibus editions all the way up to volume 6. But today we're going to go all in on One Piece and we're going to review all of the East Blue Saga, which is the first 12 volumes. And this is going to be kind of like in order to replace that review as well as get further into the series, because I've finally started reading it properly, like in earnest, with actual desire to finish the series. And I really enjoyed this saga, so I wanted to talk about it, right? Now, obviously, One Piece is written by Eiichiro Oda, and he has been doing it for over 20-something years. I think he started in 1997, and it's 2021, so I think it's 24 years. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, I think it is 24 years. And yeah, so this is published by Viz Media, and I actually read it on the Shonen Jump app, which is why I don't have any physical volumes to show you, beyond the fact that, you know, I won't buy them until I have my own place, or my own house, because 100 volumes is a lot of stuff, man. Like, that is too many things to own right now in like a way that is meaningful to me, because if I buy the box sets, I'm not gonna have space for any other books at all in my little room in my parents' house, right? So yeah, I'm gonna read this online, and I'm gonna continue to read this online for, you know, however long it takes me to have my own house. Now, demographic wise, this is a shonen. Obviously this is a Shonen Jump title, so it's always going to be a shonen series, right? And yeah, the genres here are fantasy and adventure, and you could almost call this a pirate series. Actually, it is a pirate series, but like pirate isn't really a genre, like not really. So there you go. But there's a lot of elements of, you know, pirate fantasy, very in line with things like Pirates of the Caribbean. And I mean, it is about pirates. So yeah. Now, adaptations-wise, this has an anime that has been going on for nearly as long as the manga. I think it's only 2 years younger, which would be 22 years old, and it's by Toei Animations. And actually, I watched a few episodes of it, and it actually is not that bad. There's a few parts that are actually better than the manga, because they add a little bit more tension and a little bit cooler kind of sound effects and stuff, which is like the most significant aspect of the adaptation that I think so far is interesting, at least in terms of the East Blue Saga, is definitely the walk to Arlong Park. Mostly because it just is nice and the music is cool and it's just really enjoyable, right? But yeah, now the premise here is basically that this young wannabe pirate by the name of Luffy D. Monkey, or Monkey D. Luffy, sets out on his adventure, and he sets sail across the East Blue, which is the eastern quarter of the world that One Piece is set in, that is mostly covered in ocean. There's only like a giant strip of land across the center, which is called the Red Line. And he sails island to island across the East Blue in order to get into the Grand Line, which is essentially the equator of the world that he lives in order to start his adventure. And as he searches, you know, his way to get to the Grand Line, he is looking for crew members to join him in order to, you know, not die horribly as soon as he enters the Grand Line. And so what we see here in this saga is actually Luffy collecting crew members and kind of what's called defeating greater and greater opponents along the way, and kind of seeing how the world grows, how Eiichiro Oda kind of expands it and builds up the lore of a whole planet that is so focused on maritime travel, which is really cool. So the plotline here is pretty good. It covers about six arcs. The first one is Romance Dawn, which is the prologue of the series, and then we get Orange Town, which is the beginning, and it's also the one that introduces Zoro. Then we have Sear Village, which introduces Usopp, and then we have Baratier, which introduces Sanji, and then Arlong Park, which is Nami's big section, and then Logtown, which is the end of the East Blue Saga and the beginning of the proper adventure. Like, these first 100 chapters are the prologue to the larger story that is coming, you know, to us afterwards, which is really nice. I really enjoyed it. Overall, the plotline is really good. It's very nice, and I really just love the whole kind of like gather the crew thing, like that like trope or that like arc or storyline is just so fun to me. I just enjoy it a lot. I really enjoy heist movies and like action adventure movies that kind of deal with like, oh, we have to do this mission, but before we do the mission, we have to go find all the people that are going to help us, right? Like I really enjoy movies like The Italian Job and Fast and Furious and you know, like Ocean's 11 and stuff like that, because it deals with that whole kind of like, let's gather the crew before we go on an adventure kind of thing. And it's just so fun. I really love that this whole arc was, or the whole saga here was about finding the members of the crew. And I thought it was really great. I do have a few complaints here. Like the first thing that really bothers me, or maybe not bothers me, but it's like, it's kind of interesting, is the fact that it actually takes quite a bit of time before you actually start enjoying One Piece, at least as an adult, as a 21-year-old person, me, because the first couple, not chapters, the first couple arcs are so childish in comparison to Baratier and Arlong Park. And it's kind of annoying. It's kind of like a weird, like slow and steady progression of tone shift from this very child-friendly beginning to a much darker and much more meaningful, kind of more adult feeling near the end of Arlong Park and into Logtown, which is not really like a problem. It's not bad. It's just kind of like odd because the series is already 1,000 chapters long. It's kind of tough to really read 60 chapters before you can get into it, which is kind of like a bit difficult. But it's really not that bad. It generally at the beginning it's really funny and like I don't know, childish, but in like a good way. And then once it progresses into a more serious storyline, you actually do end up enjoying it quite a lot. So if you read the first couple chapters of One Piece and find it that it's not really that great, I think you preferably should wait until like after Syrup Village in order to decide whether you like it or not. Preferably get to the end of Baratier and then decide. Or if you really don't want to like miss out at all, definitely read the first 100 chapters like without any stop and then decide if you like it or not. Because once you get to Arlong Park, things like make sense and it's so good. It's so enjoyable at that point. But you know, it's a problem that, you know, the series is already huge and then it takes like 100 chapters for you to be able to say that it's good. So, I mean, it's kind of tough, but it's also kind of just like a situation that happens because that's just how the manga worked, right? So, but yeah, but I really do enjoy the progression of toughness that we get. Like we start with Luffy and we get kind of like an interesting kind of setup with pirates are badass, right? We get Shanks beating up these like bandits at the beginning, and then we get Luffy started, right? And then Luffy just happens to be very powerful and very strong, and so he gets to beat a bunch of like random one-off characters really easily in the beginning. And then we get to Boogie, and Boogie is like the other devil user in the East Blue besides Luffy and like one or two others. And we see that, you know, pirates are tough. And then we get like further and further, and each arc introduces a new, bigger, badder character that really just like progressively makes it so that, you know, hey, Luffy and his crew are powerful and they're able to beat these guys, so they're ready for the Grand Line, but, you know, they're still not the best that they could be, and so there's a lot of room to grow, and I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really good overall, and, you know, really nice. I liked it a lot. Now, characters-wise, everything here is great. The Straw Hats are super fun. I love Luffy and Nami the best. I just enjoy Luffy's kind of, like, ridiculous nature and like the fact that he's so powerful, but like in a really dumb way. I think that's really funny and it's really enjoyable. And Luffy's just like that really nice guy, that force to be reckoned with, that like blows through a place and just like makes friends with everyone, right? He's like the archetypal good guy that is also a nice kind of character. Like, you know, in the very same way that Naruto, Asta, Natsu, like all of these powerful guys also end up being just really nice and genuine with each other, right? And I really enjoy that. Luffy is such a fun character. Nami is awesome. Her backstory is really meaningful. She has a heart of gold, but she has a very prickly exterior. She's a crazy bandit. Everything about her is just great. I'm really excited to see where she goes. I know that after a certain point, I think Oda kind of like fumbles the ball with his female characters, a bit, but Nami is just so nice and so enjoyable, and I really am interested to see more of her. Sanji and Zoro are both great as well. I really enjoy them. Sanji is a little bit annoying in the sense that like his simpiness, like his desire to really just be into girls is kind of odd and it's kind of annoying, but it's also kind of functional in a kind of good way, because when it's not like perverted obsessive, it tends to be kind of like chivalrous, and in that sense it's not that bad. Also, he's just so cool. He has a suit. He wears a suit all the time, which is badass. He has a cool little like thing with his smoking, and he's just so awesome. Like, he's so cool. Like, his design is my favorite so far, but his personality is kind of like tough sometimes to kind of enjoy. Zoro is really cool. It's kind of funny that he's always injured. I know that that's kind of like a running gag, and I hopefully enjoy him a lot more. But so far, he's just kind of like the silent badass, right? Which is really cool, but it doesn't really offer that much. And his backstory is kind of meaningful, but easily gets overshadowed by Sanji and Nami. Usopp is also the last member of the Straw Hats so far, and he's kind of just like not that great. Like, I don't dislike him, but I don't like him that much either. He's really chaotic and kind of like a troll, and that's not the type of character that I enjoy. I don't really like people like that. Characters wise, and really I don't like people like that in real life that much either, but I see that he has potential, right? He's a really cowardly guy, but he's also really strong and powerful when it comes to defending others, which is a really interesting kind of mix between those two kind of characteristics, because they're kind of opposites of each other. So I see that Usopp has a lot of growth to do, and I see that he's going to definitely have very good stuff going on in the future, but so far he's just kind of annoying in like a not that great way. I enjoy his comedy bits a little bit, but not that much. I think Luffy in general is just funnier than Usopp, and Usopp is just kind of like really loud for no reason, so I don't like him that much, but I don't dislike him either. His wishy-washiness is really the part that I don't like that much. Now, the bad guys here are also really good, and I like that each of them shows something to the crew. You know, like I said earlier, Buggy kind of shows the power of another Devil Fruit user besides Luffy, because Luffy is kind of like the only one we've seen in the East Blue besides Buggy. And it's just really interesting. Like, each bad guy after Orange Town, because really, the guy at Orange Town, Axe Hand, Morgan, didn't really do anything. Like, he was just kind of a dick. And it's not like, that's not really meaningful, but Boogie and onwards, I think every bad guy, big bad guy, kind of shows you something important, right? Boogie shows you that when you're fighting a Devil Fruit user, strategy is the most important aspect to your battle. It's going to not be just about raw strength, but it's also about how to overcome the difficulty that the Devil Fruit grants the other character that you're fighting, right? And then Kuro, the guy with the black cats thing, shows you that pirates are ruthless, horrifying individuals, right? They can be, at least, because most of the pirates we know so far, the Straw Hats and Shanks' crew, are pretty nice guys, even if they are pretty kind of cutthroat when they need to be, right? But Kuro really shows you the ruthlessness and the kind of evil that lurks in pirates. And then Don Krieg shows you the kind of importance of preparation, but also the fact that preparation alone is not enough. It shows you that grit and determination and your emotional state is just as important as your physical preparations, right? Which is the whole thing that Seth kind of tries to tell Sanji. It's all about grit, man. Luffy beats Don Krieg regardless of how prepared Don Krieg is, because Luffy just has that power of will, which is really important, right? Especially when you're fighting nature, right? Because this is what pirates do. They go sail into the world and they basically live off like their sheer determination to survive. Because, you know, nature is the most powerful force that we can ever kind of go against. And I really like that. It was super cool. Don Krieg was probably my favorite bad guy so far. And then we have Arlong, which is like showing you teamwork and the power that the Straw Hats have together instead of when they are alone. And it's really good. I really enjoyed it. Arlong also kind of shows teamwork with his own like crew. Like, Arlong, for better or worse, actually has the loyalty of his character, of his cast, right, of his group of people that follow him, and most of them really are kind of interested in helping Arlong develop his like plan, but also know kind of when to hold him back and when not to. And Nami, you know, as much as she's being like coerced into being here, is also an essential part of Arlong's strategy, right? And then the way that they beat Arlong is by each fighting, maybe individually, one at a time, but overall fighting together in order to beat the Fishmen, right? Which is really good. I really enjoyed how each kind of like bad guy shows you something important. But yeah, I think Arlong is the most meaningful bad guy. But personally, I like Don Krieg the most, even though he's kind of like the most boring out of all of the big ones that we've seen so far. Buggy is probably the funniest. And Kuro is just kind of like really neutral. I don't really have a positive or negative opinion on him. But yeah, world building wise, really nice. There's a lot of good foreshadowing here, which is really great. I really enjoyed, and everything is just brought together really nicely. Oda is very good at world building and really like nice at telling you something important without it seeming all that meaningful. But then later it's like, holy shit, this is what he was talking about, you know, 20 chapters ago when Nami was looking at the wanted posters or whatever the case was, right? And I really just enjoy Oda's like ability to write like that. It's really nice. It's very good. I think he really understands the whole kind of principle of world building. I think, what is it? Is it Chekhov's gun, which is like you have to introduce the thing before you mention it kind of thing? I think that's what Chekhov's gun is. It might not be, but if it's not, I'll put up whatever I am talking about right here. Yeah, I really enjoy the whole Grand Line versus Red Line thing, because it's just really interesting. The way the world is set up is just so cool. And yeah, and I like that they show us so many different powers, right? We get the 7 warlords of the sea, we get the Marine Corps, we get the Fishmen, we get Shanks and Mihawk, which are part of the 7 warlords. Well, I don't think Shanks is. I think Shanks used to be, and then he isn't anymore, because that's what Mihawk tells him. And then we get to see some other cool stuff, and then we get to see that nature is really odd in this world, and animals are really oddly combined in different ways. And then we get to see devil fruits, right? We get to see a few, and we don't really understand how they work just yet, but we know that they grant the users immense power, but also curse them, and that the sea hates them. The sea, the most powerful entity in this world, because it's what covers most of this world, hates devil users and is going to kill them as soon as they touch water. And so many pirates that are devil fruit users have to stay as dry as possible at all times, which is really cool. I really just enjoy everything about the world building here. Oda just does a great job with it. Now, art-wise, overall, it's nice. It takes a while to kind of get into it, because it really is kind of odd and really long and stretchy and kind of funky. But once you get used to it, it's so good and so enjoyable. Oda has a really good way of kind of demonstrating emotions and kind of like helping you understand how the characters feel, that I think is really nice. Just like, it looks cool and it's just really enjoyable. But I mean, I think out of the big 3, Oda has the most interesting kind of creature designs and the most kind of fun power drawing. Like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, he has the most enjoyable style. Bleach has the coolest character designs, but Naruto has the best action sequences. The way that Naruto has the action sequences drawn with like multiple viewpoints of the same punch just adds so much power, and it actually makes it really easy to follow the fights in there. I've had some problems with the fights in One Piece because I'm not really sure where things are going. There's like too much motion and not enough explanation of the motion through the drawings with Oda's action sequences. So sometimes I get a little bit lost, but in general, it's actually pretty good. So yeah, fanservice wise, really there's been nothing so far. Like, I don't really think that there's been a single bit of fanservice yet, which is, you know, pretty nice for 100 chapters, especially if you're like not into that. But yeah, I assume that there will be some fanservice later on. Obviously, the female character designs of Oda are pretty infamous for being like way too sexy. So like, I'm interested to see how that pans out. But so far, there's really nothing in terms of fanservice. So if you're interested in the series, at least the first 100 chapters, you'll be safe if you're not into fanservice. Now, rating wise, this is a 4 out of 5. It's so far like really, really good, but I really didn't love the early childish feel compared to the later sections. So it kind of lowers the bar a little bit for me. Like, I can't give it a 5 out of 5 yet because it doesn't like, it didn't get there for me because it wasn't like super amazing, because the first 30-ish chapters just kind of bored me a little bit because they felt so much more child friendly than I was expecting, right? So it kind of sucks, but it's also like not that bad. A 4 out of 5 is a great score. I mean, I basically, the only problem is that is like a minimal thing that probably won't bother most other people, right? So yeah, I definitely recommend this. I think that everyone should read One Piece. It's really good and really enjoyable, and of course, it's like the thing that has inspired so many modern mangaka, you know, besides Naruto and Bleach. So yeah, it's also really cool that it's still ongoing, and I think there's supposed to be 5 more years left. That's what Oda said, but he's been saying that for quite a few years so far, so it might last another 10 if if all goes well, right? So yeah. Now, I don't really have any similar titles. Like, basically anything in Jump that is less than 10 years old is probably going to feel somewhat similar, but like, I don't think that anything I've read in Jump has that kind of like badass world building, awesome kind of like huge, impossibly large feeling world that One Piece has. And I really think that that's the best part of One Piece. Like, yeah, the characters are good. Yeah, the fight scenes are interesting. Yeah, the plot line is good. But like, the world building is just so badass and so awesome. And I really don't know anything that really fits the same type of thing. Like, at least not in manga. I mean, there's a few Western epic fantasy stories that kind of fit. Like, stuff by Brandon Sanderson is so complex and so interesting. That you could probably get away with saying that if you like One Piece, you probably would like Brandon Sanderson stuff. But like, it's not the same. It doesn't have the same kind of feel, right? So yeah, that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and yeah, see you guys later.